Lake Baikal holds about one-fifth of the world's unfrozen freshwater, and its winter ice freezes into glass-clear slabs that trap ancient tree fragments and insects like time capsules. Do you know that Olkhon Island on Lake Baikal shelters Shaman Rock, a wind-sculpted sacred cliff wrapped in rituals and legends older than written history? Lake Baikal is the world's oldest and deepest freshwater lake, holding roughly 20% of Earth's unfrozen surface freshwater. Do you know that Baikal is home to the Nerpa, the only true freshwater seal, and to thousands of endemic species found nowhere else on the planet? Carved over 25 million years by shifting tectonic plates, its basin plunges more than 1,100 meters and traps ancient waters that reveal Earth's climatic memory. In winter, the surface transforms into a glassy expanse where ice grows so clear you can peer down tens of meters into an otherworldly blue world. Bubbling methane and gases rising from deep vents freeze into perfect columns, creating surreal sculptures that local fishermen and scientists both revere. Boats creak through fog in summer, and trackless ice roads open in winter, linking tiny villages and island shrines to the mainland. Olkhon Island, the lake's spiritual heart, harbors ancient shamanic sites and windswept cliffs that look across stretches of water so vast they feel like ocean. From the legendary capes to the quiet bays, every inlet carries stories of Siberian tribes, Cossack explorers, and Soviet-era researchers who cataloged the lake's peculiar life. The surrounding taiga filters runoff with lichen and pine, producing water so pure that scientists still study Baikal as a window into pre-industrial freshwater ecosystems. Yet climate change and invasive species pose unprecedented threats, altering freeze patterns and bringing new predators to fragile food webs. Travelers who follow the Circumbaikal Railway or the rutted dirt roads discover rural communities whose livelihoods are interwoven with the lake's rhythms. Each village keeps its own recipes, festivals, and legends about the lake's mood swings, from sudden storms to days when the stars seem to light the water from below. Scientists still discover new species in its depths. Baikal remains a living archive and an urgent call to protect. Mount Elbrus rises as a dormant double-summit volcano, whose western peak, at 5,642 meters, claims the mantle of Europe's highest point under most continental definitions. Do you know Mount Elbrus's glaciers send meltwater to both the Caspian and the Black Sea, making its snows the headwaters of two great basins? Beneath that white crown lie shifting ice caves and blue-tinged seracs that hide scars of ancient eruptions and records of climate stretching thousands of years. The flanks of Elbrus cradle isolated alpine meadows, where endemic flowers and relic shrubs survive in microclimates found nowhere else on the continent. Hikers and climbers arrive not just for altitude, but to walk a landscape pocked with unexpected human traces, from shepherd's stone huts to rusting Soviet-era chairlifts. These artifacts stitch the mountain to nearby valleys like Baksan and Chegem, where mineral springs and highland villages keep stories of the mountain alive. In winter, the slopes become a kingdom of wind-carved cornices and hard-packed roads, and in summer, the same faces flow with meltwater that powers rivers below. Those rivers carve passes and routes that linked ancient traders and now funnel visitors toward remote spas and the town of Terskal. Scientists have mapped ice layers on Elbrus that act as living archives, preserving dust and pollen from epochs when the Caucasus wore a very different climate. Mountaineers often remark how a sudden clear view from the summit can reveal the entire Caucasus chain, a reminder that Elbrus anchors an island of peaks and valleys. From that high vantage point, you can trace a chain of connected places, from glacial cirques to shepherd trails, from wartime relics to modern mountain towns. Each step down links you to mineral baths, to rustic guest houses, and to the valleys where local languages and cuisines were shaped by the mountain. In short, Elbrus is not just a peak to be climbed, it is a living crossroads where geology, history, and culture meet at the edge of Europe. And what seems like barren ice at first glance often conceals fragile ecosystems and human histories that rewrite what we think we know about mountains. The next part of our journey will follow those meltwaters down into hidden gorges, to villages that owe their existence to the mountain's generosity. We will pass from the silent summit to the bustling valley markets and to hot springs that have drawn people since antiquity. Along the way, we'll uncover why local myths revere Elbrus as both a gate and a guardian, with tales carved in stone and memory. Stay with us as we trace a single droplet from summit ice to village spring, and learn how Mount Elbrus shapes life far beyond its snowy ridges. Few mountains can claim such dual identities: raw geological power above and intimate human stories below. Join this descent, where every valley turn reveals a new secret of Europe's highest volcano and the people who live in its shadow. Ruskeala Marble Canyon unveils vertical walls of gray and green marble sliced into a flooded chasm, where former quarries now hold waters so clear they reveal submerged stairways and quarry tools frozen in time. Do you know that Ruskeala Marble Canyon supplied stone for St. Isaac's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, and yet today its caverns echo with kayakers and cave divers rather than cathedral builders. In the 18th and 19th centuries, miners carved out vast halls of marble by hand and horse, creating terraces and galleries that now stand like ruined cathedrals beneath silver birch forests. Today, those excavations have filled with glacial melt and spring water, producing lakes up to 30 meters deep, whose turquoise tones change with the light and the seasons. Underwater, divers report visibility so sharp, the marble faces appear closer than they are, and explorers have mapped submerged staircases and pulley systems that tell stories of vanished work crews. Above water, sunlight scraping the marble creates spectral lanes of green and blue, turning the canyon into an optical theater where reflections and echoes play tricks on your senses. In winter, the same water freezes into glassy plains and hanging ice curtains, while steam rising from hot breaths and crackling ice produces an otherworldly hush among the cliffs. Walk along the rim and you cross layers of history. The mineral textures that built imperial palaces and the human footprints of miners who shaped this landscape by sheer labor. Local guides will lead you through tunnels where light filters like stained glass, and they tell legends of hidden passages and the times the quarry flooded so fast entire work crews had to climb out by the heads of shafts. These stories stitch Ruskeala to Karelia's wider tapestry, the same cold, patient landscape that cradles lake islands, wooden monasteries, and the moss-soft trails leading onward. From the marble's mirror, we travel in thought toward the next wonder, where rock gives way to water's stillness and ancient icons watch from islands shaped by ice and time. Ruskeala is a gateway, revealing how industry, geology, and folklore conspire to create places that are both human-made and utterly natural. To step into the canyon is to walk at the edge of two stories, the raw geology written in stone and the quieter human narratives etched into every ledge. And as we leave the marble cliffs behind, we carry one question: how many other Russian landscapes hide such private, luminous worlds just out of sight? The Altai Mountains cradle Belukha, one of Eurasia's most glaciated peaks, where ice tongues descend into forested valleys. Do you know the Altai Mountains Lake Teletskoye is often called Little Baikal for its depth and clarity? From Belukha, the glaciers feed the Katun River, a silver artery that carves the heart of the range. Along its banks, taiga meets alpine steppe, creating sharp ecological borders you rarely see together elsewhere. The region is part of the UNESCO Golden Mountains of Altai, recognized for its living mosaic of species and landscapes. Dozens of plants here exist nowhere else, and ancient cedar and larch forests shelter rare birds and mammals. High on the Ergaki Plateau, grasslands spread like a wind-sculpted ocean above 2,000 meters, linking Altai to Mongolia. It is on Ergaki that Scythian kurgans and the Ergaki princess mummies tell stories older than local memory. Below, crystal rivers collect in cirque lakes and plunge into gorges that smell of stone and pine resin. Those rivers feed into Lake Teletskoye and then out through the Bia to meet the Katun and form the Ob. Walkers will find petroglyphs and reindeer herders' camps, but also hidden hot springs where steam rises in tundra dawns. Traditional Altaian culture still reads the landscape. Stones, rivers, and peaks are woven into shaman stories and healing rites. In spring, the valleys explode with endemic wildflowers, and then, months later, glaciers release meltwater that redraws the map of streams. Those seasonal shifts shape migration routes for Altai Ergaki sheep and create hunting corridors for elusive predators like the snow leopard at the margins. Scientists come to Altai for its climate architects, ancient ice and lake sediments, preserve pollen and spores that reveal millennia of change. Yet for all the data, many of its microhabitats remain unmapped and full of species not yet described by science. Kamchatka's peninsula harbors one of the world's highest concentrations of active volcanoes, more than 160 peaks clustered in a land roughly the size of Italy. Do you know Kamchatka's Kliuchevskaya Sopka is the tallest active volcano in Eurasia, towering over 4,750 meters and reshaping valleys with every eruption. Ongoing eruptions here don't just fling ash. They trigger volcanic lightning and create rivers of steaming mud that glow in talit. Hidden beneath those plumes are mineral springs and fumaroles that feed the nearby valley of geysers, one of only a few geyser fields on the planet. Scientists study Kamchatka's vents because their unique chemistry produces rare microbial mats that thrive in near-boiling water, offering clues to early life on Earth. From the slopes of Koryaksky to the flanks of Avachinsky, obsidian and pumice tell a geological story older than many nations. The peninsula's volcanic chain links directly to the Kuril Islands, forming a fiery arc where tectonic plates collide beneath the Pacific. That same tectonic violence sculpts coastal lagoons and river systems that fuel explosive salmon runs, attracting thousands of brown bears every summer. Visitors often expect snow-capped cones, but few know that these volcanoes host seasonal lava domes and glowing fumarolic fields that can appear almost lunar. Local Ainu and Koryak myths speak of mountain spirits, and scientists have started to map oral histories that record eruptions centuries before telescopes existed. From the ash plains, you can trace rivers to hot springs, where thermophilic bacteria paint terraces in vivid colors, connecting lava to life in a single watershed. Explorers who trek between craters find that each volcanic caldera seems to be a doorway to another ecosystem, linking alpine tundra, geyser basins, and temperate forests. This is why Kamchatka matters to geologists and biologists alike. It compresses global processes, plate tectonics, volcanism, and ecological succession into one wild classroom. And as you follow smoke-rimmed ridgelines toward the coast, you'll discover how volcanic ash seeded soils that now sustain dense coastal forests and the world's most productive salmon streams. Olkhon Island on Lake Baikal is one of the few places on Earth where steppe and taiga meet along a single, wind-sculpted shoreline. Do you know that Shamanka Rock on Olkhon is one of Siberia's oldest spiritual centers, where shamans once left offerings to the lake and to spirits believed to control the ice and weather? From Kuzhir's wooden houses to lonely larches on crescent dunes, the island feels like a living map of Baikal's ancient climate shifts. In winter, an ice highway opens, and the island becomes an enormous stage for blue ice, deep fissures, and the haunting calls of the Nerpa, the only freshwater seal in the world. Local fishermen still read the wind and the lake's moods with an intimacy passed down through generations. You can trace their stories in petroglyphs and sacred stones scattered along the northern capes, where sunlight paints the cliffs in colors found nowhere else. Olkhon's shoreline wraps into bays that nurture rare orchids and endemic insects, microhabitats sustained by Baikal's remarkable clarity and mineral balance. Those same waters host more than 1,700 species of flora and fauna, many unique to this freshwater sea, making Olkhon both island and laboratory of evolution. During summer, the steppe blooms into carpets of wildflowers, and horses roam the plateaus as they have for centuries. Walk the ridges at dusk, and you will see stars melt into the lake, a light show shaped by one of the planet's deepest freshwater basin seasons. The island's shamanic stones link directly to mainland rituals, creating a cultural bridge from Olkhon to the taiga peoples of Ergaki and beyond. Every rock, inlet, and cliff seems to hold fragments of Siberia's history, from Cossack explorers to Buryat ancestors, so the island is both mirror and memory. To reach Olkhon is to step into a world where natural extremes sharpen senses. Sudden gusts mirror like water, and cliffs that keep silence like an old promise. And yet behind each horizon lies another story. How Baikal's immense basin shaped the people, myths, and migrations that connected this island to the whole of Russia's Siberian spine. Today, small guest houses and local guides invite respectful visitors to learn traditional rituals, to collect stories rather than souvenirs. Conservation efforts work quietly here, balancing tourism with protections for Baikal's fragile ecosystems, a struggle mirrored across the lake. On early foggy mornings, fishermen still chant old sea prayers that sound like an echo from Ice Age times, bridging past and present. Olkhon remains a living threshold, a place where the world's deepest lake meets human curiosity and the wild insistence of nature. Dagestan mud volcanoes erupt cold, methane-rich mud that builds bizarre conical islands and bubbling lakes, a geological oddity rare across Russia and the world. Do you know, the Dagestan mud volcanoes can release methane so potent that when pockets escape the mud they sometimes ignite, casting fleeting blue flames over the slick plains? Locals have used the warm, mineral-rich sludge for centuries as folk medicine, claiming skin and joint remedies born of subterranean chemistry. Scientists study these vents not only for their therapeutic folklore, but for clues about deep earth processes and the hidden ties between hydrocarbons and tectonics. From towering mud cones to low, simmering pools, each vent has its own personality. Some bubble gently like pots on a stove, while others explode in sudden geyser-like bursts. The eruptions are driven by white gases and overpressured sediment, making these features both fragile and unpredictable in a landscape shaped by the Caspian's weight and ancient earthquakes. On satellite images, the mud volcano fields look like scars, stitched across Dagestan's coastal plain. And in winter, the pale mud contrasts with snow-capped ridges beyond. That contrast links the mudlands to nearby mountain villages, where shepherds tell stories of the earth, speaking through burps and hisses at night. Geologists follow the mud's chemistry to trace subterranean pipelines of oil and gas, so these sleepy vent fields can point toward resources and hazards alike. An entire chapter of the region's human history is written in this interaction, from oil exploration to traditional recipes for healing and the rituals that mark eruptions. Travelers who step carefully between steaming pools find a silent, alien beauty where every pop and bubble suggests activity miles below. From those mudflats, our path moves eastward toward the glittering edge of the Caspian Sea, where salt and mud meet in a landscape of shifting borders and ancient trade routes. Here, the Dagestan mud volcanoes perform more than spectacle. They are a living map of buried energy and the reasons people settled, traded, and sometimes fled these lands. As we leave the crackling mud fields, the next scene waits among the coastal salt pans and oil rigs that echo the subterranean drama we just witnessed. In spring, the mud hardens into fragile crusts that photographers prize for their textures, while scientists return with probes to sample gases for climate clues. Each sample can tell a story of microbial life, ancient organic matter, and the slow alchemy that turns buried seafloors into living, spouting mounds. Hidden in the tundra, a cluster of glacial basins on the Kola Peninsula glows an impossible emerald green. Do you know the Kola Emerald Lakes change hue with the angle of light and suspended mineral flour? Born from ancient glaciers and sculpted by frost, these pools trap sunlight in a way that seems unnatural. Finely ground rock flour and dissolved minerals scatter blue and yellow wavelengths, producing that deep, living green. Local Sami herders once used the lakes as landmarks, believing they marked thresholds between worlds. Scientists now study unique plankton and cold water invertebrates here, species found nowhere else on Earth. In summer, the banks burst with cotton grass and dwarf birch, framing the glassy surfaces with fragile Arctic color. Come winter, thin ice and low sun create mirrored depths where the lakes seem to glow from within. Fishermen prize the emerald waters for Arctic char runs that follow hidden channels beneath peat and moss. Yet some basins remain so isolated that their water chemistry preserves millennia of climatic memory in every drop. Access is deceptive. Tracks vanish into bog and stone, and visitors must respect fragile tundra to reach shorelines. Guides speak of sudden mists and light, that bends around the hollows, turning day into kakisi, surreal tweedy light. A small stream spills from one lake to another, stitching the chain together like beads on an emerald necklace. Follow that thin ribbon, and you'll climb toward the Kibani foothills, where the light changes and new secrets wait. This is where geology becomes narrative, each pool a chapter in an Arctic story written by ice and time. By night, the northern lights paint the water, and colors you thought impossible rearrange themselves before your eyes. Visitors leave with maps of moods rather than coordinates, each lake remembered by the way it spoke to sunlight. Stay with us, and we'll trace the rivulet that carries those emerald waters toward fjords and the Barents Sea. Next, we'll cross into mountain shadows, where mineral veins glitter and old mines whisper their own green-tinted histories. The Kola Emerald Lakes are not just a view, but a living palette. And their story is only beginning. Hidden above the Arctic Circle, the Murmansk Pink Lakes are among the northernmost salt lakes on Earth, turning shocking shades of rose and coral. Do you know the Murmansk Pink Lakes owe their color to microscopic, salt-loving algae and bacteria that pigment their waters in surprising heatless conditions? These hues intensify during the long twilight of the midnight sun, when salinity spikes and rare minerals concentrate along the shoreline. Local Sami elders say people once used the rosy mud for skin treatments, and traces of ancient salt harvesting still mark the banks. Beneath the surface, a fragile ecosystem balances on a razor edge. Halophiles, brine shrimp, and specialized cyanobacteria that survive freezing nights. Scientists visiting from St. Petersburg were astonished to find cold-adapted Dunaliella-like algae, producing carotenoids at temperatures far lower than typical pink lakes. Wind scours the flat basins, leaving salt ribbons that glitter like frost, making the landscape seem both lunar and painterly. In winter, the lakes narrow to glassy veins under snow, only to flare pink again when spring brings saline thaw and sunlight. Access is rugged, gravel tracks and seasons of soft peat, which has preserved the lakes from mass tourism and kept their stories local. Yet researchers, photographers, and semi-guides trek here deliberately, drawn by a spectacle that mixes science, folklore, and fragile beauty. That connection binds highland geology to coastal life, showing how Russia's Arctic folds the dramatic into intimate pockets of color. As we move from these rose-tinted shores toward the industrial port of Murmansk, the contrast could not be stronger, and that contrast tells another story. But before we leave, the lakes teach a lesson about surreal. Even in extreme north, life finds a way to paint the world in impossible hues. Photographers wait for the perfect low sun to capture reflections that seem unreal, while biologists take careful samples to understand climate signals. These pink lakes are not just scenic oddities, they are living barometers of Arctic change, whispering warnings if you know how to read them. Lake Teletskoye in the Altai Mountains plunges to nearly 325 meters, making it one of Russia's deepest glacial lakes. Do you know Lake Teletskoye is fed by more than 70 streams and drains into the Bia, linking to the Ob Basin? Ringed by steep forested cliffs and ancient larch taiga, the lake preserves submerged trees and quiet coves frozen in time. Scientists call it a living laboratory because its cold, oxygen-rich waters shelter relict fish and unique plankton found rarely elsewhere. In autumn, the valleys ignite in molten gold and crimson, a spectacle that helped secure the Golden Mountains of Altai UNESCO listing. Shoreline villages keep legends of drowned cities and sacred springs, blending Altai myths with Siberian settler stories. Steep gorges funnel glacial melt into turquoise arms, where waterfalls and hidden bays invite exploration by foot or boat. Divers and researchers marvel at underwater visibility, revealing ancient logs and geological layers, a window into climate history. Teams study pollen, sediments, and fish genetics to trace post-glacial migrations and long-term ecosystem change. Every summer, boats thread between cliffs to isolated chapels and petroglyphs, linking human stories to the lake's silence. Because the Bia flows out from Teletskoye, the lake acts as a freshwater reservoir that shapes downstream landscapes. That hydrological link ties the Altai highlands to vast river networks and shows how mountain lakes influence life far away. Visit in spring for thundering meltwater, in summer for wildflower shores, or in late autumn when fog gives cathedral-like stillness. Whatever the season, Teletskoye keeps secrets, silent depths preserving ecological rarities and human histories waiting for the next page. From Teletskoye, the landscape climbs toward Mount Beluka, whose snowfields feed the rivers that sculpted these valleys. That continuity, lake to mountain, reminds us that the Altai's wild beauty is a single unfolding story across water, rock, and ice. Towering stone pillars in Stolby Nature Reserve pierce the Siberian skyline, their sculpted forms rising directly from the taiga near Krasnoyarsk. These Stolby, natural rock monuments, formed over millions of years of freezing, thawing, and erosion, create labyrinths of granite and porphyritic cliffs that climbers and pilgrims revere. From the outskirts of Krasnoyarsk, you can step into a landscape where ancient pines cling to impossibly steep ledges and mountain streams whisper through narrow gorges. The reserve was established in 1925 to protect both the unusual geology and the fragile taiga ecosystem that shelters sable, lynx, and capercaillie. Local tradition gave many pillars human names: Vityaz, Oskar, and Kindin, turning natural features into storybooks of folklore and modern climbing culture. What looks like a static cathedral of stone is in fact an arena of change where frost pries at seams and tiny plant communities find purchase in hairline cracks. Hikers follow wooden trails and steep stairways that thread from river valleys up to panoramic ledges, each viewpoint folding the surrounding taiga into a miniature sea of green. Birdsong, the rustle of squirrels, and the distant rumble of the Yenisei River remind visitors that this is wilderness, not just a geological museum. Those traditions are woven into the reserve's management practice, balancing public access with strict protections to keep the pillars standing for future generations. Walk one ridge and you feel rugged solitude. Follow a valley and you encounter hidden meadows where wild blueberries and cranberries ripen beneath the canopy. From Stolby, the journey often continues deeper into Siberia. Travelers carry tales of spires and pine halls onward to the remote plateaus and rivers that define this vast land. In a single day, at Stolby, you experience geology, wildlife, human devotion, and the slow, patient work of erosion that sculpts the planet's surface. It is a place where stone keeps its own calendar and where every cliff has a history as weathered and layered as the rock itself. To touch one of these pillars is to trace a monument built by time, as much a record of climate as it is a challenge for the living. And when you leave, the silhouette of Stolby's columns lingers, a reminder that even in Siberia's vastness, there are singular, intimate wonders worth following. Ergaki Nature Park harbors one of the world's most compact arrays of jagged granite spires and glacial cirques sculpted over millennia in the western Siam. Do you know Ergaki conceals alpine lakes that change from turquoise to ink blue with the melt, and valleys where snowfields can persist well into summer? Walkers find granite needles like cathedral towers, each ridge framing a different ski and a different silence. Lichen-encrusted boulders and sapphire tarns create microclimates that let rare alpine plants survive at the edge of Siberia's taiga. Mist rolls through narrow cols and reshapes the light, so forests below glow, as if backlit from inside. Stone stairways carved by ice lead from dark cedar groves to high meadows where marmots sound an alarm like distant drums. In winter, those same ridges polish to glass and become secret highways for migrating snow hares and birds that trace the Siam spine. In spring, meltwater pours down couloirs feeding rivers that will join larger waters winding toward the Great Siberian basins. Local guides speak of hidden passes that link Ergaki to remote valleys where shamanic legends still map the landscape. On clear nights, the park's thin air reveals a galaxy of stars so bright, the granite silhouettes look like stage sets. Photographers chase dawn through the park because light finds the rock faces differently each hour, revealing colors you won't see in guidebooks. Scientists catalog rare lichens and alpine flowers here, organisms adapted to freeze-thaw cycles, and soil so thin it slips away with a footstep. Trails knot together like old stories, connecting peaks with lakes, and those lakes whisper of glaciers that once ruled these heights. This continuity of stone, ice, and water makes Ergaki not just a destination, but a living laboratory of mountain survival. For the traveler willing to climb beyond the popular ridgelines, caves and hidden basins hold fossils and pollen records that rewrite regional climate histories. Each summit offers a new perspective, and often a new secret trail, descending toward the broader Siam ranges that stretch toward Mongolia. Ergaki's remote beauty has shaped local culture, from shepherd roads, etched into slopes, to seasonal festivals, timed to flowers and snowmelt. And for those who linger, the park's silence is a teacher, revealing how the land remembers glaciers, fire, and time. So when the sun finally drops behind those granite teeth, the valley exhales, and the real stories begin to be told in the dark. Follow the ridgelines onward, and you'll find that Ergaki is not an ending, but the hinge to greater wilds still waiting to be uncovered. From the ice-sculpted ridges of Kamchatka to the glass-deep waters of Lake Baikal, the land keeps rewriting what we thought possible. Here, ancient forests whisper stories to volcanic peaks, and cities stitch centuries into their stone facades. Moscow's onion domes and St. Petersburg's canals are not just monuments, they are chapters in a living, breathing epic. Beyond the capitals, the steppe opens like an ocean, and the Kola Peninsula hosts skies that shimmer with silent green curtains. We met fishermen who read the weather in migratory patterns, and nomads who carry constellations into their songs. We followed trade routes that became art movements, and glaciers that became legends in the mouths of children in remote villages. Every landscape we crossed held a contradiction. Brutal winters that teach warmth, vast emptiness that invites connection, brutal history that begets resilient kindness. Those contradictions are the true portrait of this place, and they refuse to be reduced to postcards or sound bites. If you leave Russia thinking you have seen it, you have only skimmed its surface. Most secrets here are patient, waiting to be discovered in a second, slower look. Return here, and you will find new layers, old monasteries holding cryptic manuscripts, rivers that change course with the seasons, and people whose hospitality turns strangers into keepers of stories. So when you pack your bags, do not rush to tick boxes. Bring curiosity, time, and the willingness to lose your map. Because the greatest revelation this country offers is not a single landmark, but the persistent, humbling reminder that the world still holds places that can change the way you see it. And if one image stays with you, a polar night sky rippling with green fire, or the mirror-still face of Baikal at dawn, let it be an invitation rather than a conclusion. There are more hidden corridors to walk, more stories to listen to, and more questions that will outlive our answers. This journey ends for now, but the landscape has a longer memory. It will keep retelling itself until you come back to listen. Carry this country's contradictions with you, and let them remind you that discovery is less about summits and more about the quiet places between them.